Hello everyone and welcome to today's joint webinar between Wowza Media Systems and LiveU, from the field to the web in 3 easy steps. And regardless of what your industry is, from sports to breaking news, time is of the essence when getting live content from the point of action to the web and to streaming out there on the internet. And with the new integration between Wowza's streaming cloud and LiveU products like the LiveU Solo, streaming from the field to the web is really as simple as 1, 2, 3. And we're going to be showing that integration today with the LiveU Solo, how to connect it to Wowza's streaming cloud, to be able to stream easily to your audience and then be able to scale to audiences of really enormous sizes in a pay-as-you-go type environment. Joining me today is Yaki Timor. Yaki is the product manager for the LiveU Solo and several other products that we're going to be talking about today. Yaki, thanks for joining us today, and we really appreciate your time and joining us from Israel.
Thank you, Ryan. Happy as well.
Perfect. Well, I'm going to jump into the agenda real quick and then talk a little bit about the partnership between Wowza and LiveU, and then I'm going to turn it over to Yaki, who's going to share his screen and go through some of the LiveU products on his end. So in the session today, we're going to cover LiveU and Wowza technologies and how they work together. More specifically, we're going to talk about the LiveU Solo, which is a powerful encoder that Yaki is going to talk about. And on the Wowza side, we're going to focus today on our Wowza Streaming Cloud product, which is our end-to-end live streaming service. We're also going to walk through a real live scenario and a demo to actually get content streaming up onto the internet. We're going to cover some best practices, and specifically, the biggest bottleneck that we find with any live streaming is the upload bandwidth. And this is where LiveU really is a differentiator in the market. They have products that can aggregate and bond different internet connections and resolve this, which is usually the biggest bottleneck for live streaming. So that's a lot of what Yaki is going to cover in his slides, is talking about really the benefit that those LiveU products bring to that workflow. And then we're going to do a live Q&A at the end as well. So just last year, or about a year and a half ago, we started a Works with Wowza partner program. And what we're trying to do on the Wowza side is really simplify the workflow for live streamers. We're trying to work with industry leaders like LiveU, encoder partners, cloud partners, and really try to improve that workflow and create a simple end-to-end solution. And with LiveU, we've been able to do this by creating an integration between our Wowza Streaming Cloud product and the LiveU Solo. So with that, I'm going to go ahead and turn it over to Yaki, who's going to present some slides on his end.
Have it. Thank you, Ryan, for inviting us to this joint webinar. So a few words about LiveU, first of all. LiveU have been serving the broadcast market for close to 10 years. We've been fortunate to serve really the big top broadcasters, over 80 countries in the world. And the great thing we do is we are experts in bringing live video from the field where there is no infrastructure, there is no stable internet connectivity, with what used to be till today with satellite tracks that could guarantee the bandwidth and then the video quality. So we're doing it over cellular technology, over cellular. We're using cellular bonding technology that we are also pioneering in inventing this technology. And all together, we are bringing a reliable experience of uplink video from the field. And what we have done just lately is we took that technology and brought it into the online streaming world. And we will really excited to show you and expose the LU Solo, the LiveU Solo. It's our new encoder. It's a very, very small form factor. It's really simplifying also the workflow, as Ryan said. This is the best thing about this product as well. And the combination of this technology and the simplification of the uplink helps to get a reliable stream and make it yourself. So Solo is really for doing it yourself without really too much knowledge in video and online streaming. And together with the both cloud technologies, we'll be showing you how that is being done. Let's step a little bit into the encoder itself. And in practice, the box itself is really small. You can see the relative size in this previous slide to the football. And what we've put inside is actually 2 USBs to be connecting to two modems, two Internet 4G modems. There is built-in Wi-Fi. There is LAN connection. All of those are serving to get the video on the uplink. And the great thing here is that we are really aggregating the entire bandwidth coming from each of them into a one stream. Box itself has also a battery inside. It's lasting for an hour and a half. It has a GUI with a preview screen, so it really makes the user experience very easy. Let's step into the solution itself. What you can see in the solution slide is the camera connected to the LiveU Solo encoder. Where the LiveU Solo comes with either HDMI port or SDI port, and automatically it will find its way to the internet, streaming to the Solo cloud. So the LiveU Solo cloud has also a cloud server. The server is necessary for doing the bonding of the various uplink channels it's been using. And then from the Solo cloud, we are taking the video stream reliably as well to the Wowza cloud. So once you're on the cloud, it's easier and safer. But to get to the cloud, this is the actual challenge that we're solving here. So once the video is on the cloud, it gets to the Wowza streaming engine, and from there to the various users. We've added to this also a portal which is web mobile friendly. So with a mobile phone, you can simply control your flow, configure it in 3 steps. And this is actually what we're going to show later on in the presentation. Well, actually, before that, we'll be talking a little bit more about the cellular bonding technology and how we're making the video, taking it to be reliable into the internet, into the cloud, which is, as I mentioned, the challenge, especially when you're doing it from the field and not from a studio where you have a guaranteed internet connection. So basically, the cellular connections with the modems you have are not really guaranteed. The bandwidth can vary. The areas you get to can be congested. So it's not really a good idea of what kind of bandwidth you're going to get. But if you're using a few cellular connections in parallel, that can really help increasing the reliability and getting an aggregated bitrate from all of what you can get out there. All of these can help and contribute to get, first, higher quality, as well as a more reliable stream. So we've been doing it already for almost 10 years. And this is today, in most of the cases where you see live video or reporter in the field, this is actually with this solution. Obviously, it's a full HD, and in today's uplink channels, the stream is really reliable, and in most cases, it replaces the satellite, as we mentioned. Let's see an example. If you look at a single uplink channel, say from one of the operators, you will get variability of between 500 kilobits per second, sometimes 100 kilobits per second, up to, in LTE, it can be up to 4 megabits per second, 5 megabits per second in the uplink. But the channel may be less stable, it will vary in bitrate, and so can be another connection. You cannot really build a stream, a reliable stream, based on only on one channel, unless you know that you're in a place where there's not going to be any congestion or something, or you have a good Wi-Fi connection, or you have a good LAN connection. But the idea is when you combine 2, 3, and more cellular upload channels, or in the case of the LiveU Solo, it will be 2 cellular channels plus Wi-Fi connection, you can see that the total aggregated bandwidth you can get out of most of them is, first of all, more stable, and the second thing, it's an aggregated higher bitrate that you need for your quality. So all in all, the bonding technology helps to get a reliable stream and also a higher quality, but there are still variations on the uplink channels that you have to deal with, and in some cases there can be a congestion where all the cellular streams may go down. And in this case, we still need to be able to handle variability in the uplink bandwidth. And as we said, we're talking about the uplink channel from the field to the cloud. which usually when you talk about adaptive bitrate in the video world, you talk about the consumer side from the cloud, from YouTube, from Wowza to the user. This is where you adapt the bitrate stream. In this case, we do the bandwidth adaptivity from the field to the cloud, and our encoder is capable of doing that in bit rates between 300 kilobits per second up to 10 megabits per second, which is the full HD. We can do it very, very quickly and adapt to the changes, even up to 1 second. And the great thing about the integration with Wowza Cloud is that if such scenario is happening and the bitrate has to go down, the Wowza streaming cloud can handle those variation in the inputs and translate them into a stable stream to the many users, and in addition, also helps to adapt the bitrate per viewer. So all in all, we're getting really a reliable, almost unbreakable stream from the field to the many viewers and personalize it for the different capabilities of viewers, players, and also to the various changes of the field conditions as we have mentioned. And later on, Ryan will elaborate a little bit more about the Wowza adaptive bitrate and how to set the channels and so on. Let's see how we're doing this adaptivity in bitrate. So obviously, the aggregated bandwidth that we have mentioned is also going to vary. And overall, we still need to carry audio channel and a video channel. And what we're doing in order to maintain this high reliability, we're adding, first of all, we're securing the audio in first priority while the video bitrate can change. The other thing we're doing is we're keeping a buffer for jitter to handle those variation in bandwidth, and we are adding on top of it forward error correction on this overhead, so we can, during the live stream with our protocol, we already do a correction for the upcoming stream. And we're talking about, in broadcast world, we're talking about sub-second delay on uplink channel, and while still having to guarantee, a full HD with high quality. So we still have time in this 1 second for forward error correction, which is done without retransmissions. Additionally, if something happened, we do retransmissions. We do IDR, iframe on request. We handle these network fluctuations really well in that respect. And that requires our encoder also to adapt to those changes really quick. And eventually, there will be, from the outside conditions of the variating bitrate, there will be also encoder. The encoder will actually follow those changes and adapt accordingly. Let's see what happens to a real channel and take a very possible scenario of drop in the bitrate from that reason or another. It can be a car driving, it can be a congested area. So as we can see here is the kind of available throughput that we'll have using all the channels available. This is still the aggregated one. We'll see in the red chart the encoder trying to follow those changes of bitrate in the coming from the outside conditions of available bitrate. And we see that in those changes that the encoder is actually following, but the encoder also has its own needs to increase bitrate in some scenarios where, for instance, the camera is panning or the video is more challenging for encoding, so it will have to increase the bitrate itself in order to handle that. But we see that the buffer that we're maintaining is still good enough for the encoder to follow and also to have its own changes if necessary. And the whole idea is not to lose any frame to block the video. In the broadcast world, if you have a black video that's really terrible, they're willing to suffer anything that is with different bit rates for a certain amount of time, but certainly not to stop the video. So we cannot allow any scenarios where the buffer is really blown. And as you can see here in the red circles, this is where the available bit rate is dropping, and then when the encoder itself has to increase the bit rate, and then in this dip that we spoke about, the encoder is really getting close to the buffer end, but it still keeps the stream on. using the forwarder corrections, retransmissions, adaptivity of the encoder, and all these challenging conditions. So all in all, this is all done to secure the uplink video and to bring it safe enough to the cloud. Now, as we mentioned, once it's on the cloud, it's really easy to take the video and continue the publication of the video using the Wowza streaming cloud. And what we're going to see now are the really 3 steps. It's all about really one touch, 3 steps to get your stream on. It's all built for real users that have less idea on online streamings. It can be bloggers, it can be churches, it can be all of this kind of sports events. So you can really buy the solo encoder off the shelf and make this fast registration, which we'll see ahead. Open your Wowza account, make the very, very minimal configuration over there, and then with an exchange of a key, things start to work. I'll move now to Ryan, who will show you how to set the Wowza streaming cloud engine.
Perfect. Thank you, Yaki. Let me go ahead and take control. So Yaki's kind of gone through the benefits of the LiveU technology and what happens on the back end. What I want to do real quick is just introduce Wowza and Wowza Streaming Cloud, and then we're going to go ahead and jump into a very quick live demo where I'm going to set up a new channel in just a couple of minutes, and then Yaki's going to be able to stream from the LiveU Solo that he has running in his office in Israel, and then we're going to share that stream with you guys so you guys can pull that up on your own and preview that in the browser. So just to give you a quick intro on Wowza, we've been around for over 10 years. We have customers in over 170 countries. We really have 2 flagship products, or our Wowza Streaming Engine, which is our award-winning media server software, and what we're focusing on today is the Wowza Streaming Cloud, which is our end-to-end live streaming service. And just to give you an overview of Wowza Streaming Cloud, as Yaki mentioned, really the workflow that we're talking about today can serve the sports industry, live concerts, news gathering, all these different use cases that can be used to stream from the field to the web. And in the scenario we're talking about today, we're actually pulling in a camera feed through the LiveU Solo encoder and then being able to deliver that to Wowza Streaming Cloud from the LiveU Cloud and then deliver that out to our viewers. The great thing about Wowza Streaming Cloud is that we can deliver that adaptive bitrate streaming that Yaki was mentioning to be able to reach all of these different devices and then also scale to audiences of different sizes. The thing to really keep in mind here is there's a little bit of confusion possibly with what adaptive bitrate streaming is and how LiveU handles it as opposed to how Wowza Streaming Cloud handles it. So one of the great things that LiveU is able to offer, which really differentiates them from so many other encoder vendors, is the fact that they can adapt the bitrate on the upload side of things to really adjust to changing network and bandwidth conditions. In addition to that is once we get that stream from LiveU into the Wowza Streaming Cloud, we take in that one high-quality stream, and then we're able to then adaptive bitrate deliver that to these end users. So even if one of your users is on a mobile device on a 3G connection, they can get a reliable stream similar to someone who's maybe on a 4K TV and has 100 megabits of download bandwidth. So that adaptive bitrate streaming can be handled on both ends, on the upload side and on the delivery side. And as Yaki mentioned as well, we have just a range of different use cases. So there's a lot of broadcasters, TV broadcasters, news gathering organizations, public safety, webcasting, entertainment, houses of worship like churches and such, events, really just a range of different industries that are using this technology together. And here are just a snapshot of some of the customers that we have across the world as well. So with that, let's go ahead and jump back into Google Chrome and really give you guys a view of what's going on here with joint technologies. So what we've done is we've gone ahead and come into the Wowza Streaming Cloud interface. If you guys haven't been here before, you can go to cloud.wowza.com and sign up for a free trial. And what we're able to do is really add a stream in just a couple of minutes. Here you can see a snapshot of all my different channels and what the total viewership is and network usage. I'm going to come in here to the live stream and click on Add Live Stream and add a new one. And what Yaki is doing, he's actually streaming from Israel today, so I want to choose a server that's actually somewhat close to his location. So I'm going to go ahead and zoom in here so you guys can see the interface a little bit better. I'm going to go ahead and call this LiveU Solo. And you can see we have a range of different data centers all over the world that Wowza Streaming Cloud is built on top of. Here you can see I have a range of different options, and my best bet would probably be to choose a server that's based in the European region. So I'm actually going to choose this EU Germany data center. I'm going to click on Next. And the reason for choosing a geographical location that's close to my encoder is I want to make sure I have the least amount of latency on the upload side of things. So if I was to create that server, let's say in Asia, Taiwan, then Yaki's going to have to send the stream from LiveU Solo up into the LiveU Cloud and then, of course, connect with that origin server that's based in Asia. So it's better to choose a server that's as close as possible to that LiveU device. What I can do now is here I can choose a range of different cameras or encoders. And for today's demo, of course, I'm going to use the LiveU Solo. And here you can see the different aspect ratios that we can choose. For the demo today, we've chosen to do a somewhat lower stream, so we're going to do a 720p. And we can also choose to record this live stream in the cloud as well. I'm going to click on Next. And then here we can actually generate a player. We will provide a free HTML5 and Flash player for you that you can embed in your own website. You can use the hosted page that we create. I can choose the width here of how I want this player to be. I can display a countdown clock if I want to as well. Here I can choose a poster image. So here you can see I have different images. I'm going to choose this poster image right here. I'm going to choose a logo that I can overlay over the stream as well inside of the player. And I can position that logo inside of the player as well. I'm going to click on Next. And what I'm going to do here is just create a hosted page as well. So even if you don't have the skills to create a website, here we can actually create a hosted page for you as well. And I click on Next, and the final step here is just to confirm all these settings and click on Finish. Now what we've done is similar to a cooking show. We've been showing how to kind of prepare this, but what we've done in the background is actually already connect the LiveU Solo to a channel we set up ahead of the webinar. We wanted to do this just to make sure that we had that reliable stream coming in and everything ready to go. Now one thing to keep in mind is when I create a new channel like this, I don't start accruing charges until I click on Start Stream. And how Wowza Streaming Cloud works, and if I click on this, I'll show you, you get a confirmation message that you'll start accruing charges. And what we do on the back end is we'll actually virtualize a computing resource, an actual virtual machine for you that has Wowza Streaming Engine pre-built and pre-configured. And that will start, and within literally less than a minute, a couple of minutes, that machine will be ready to actually start receiving that stream from LiveU. Now, in order to actually start that stream and then connect it to the LiveU Solo device, we have to use this connection code. And if I jump over here to Video Source and Transcoder, here you can see I've selected the LiveU device, and here's that connection code I can actually type into the LiveU Solo itself. So what I want to do now is actually switch it back over to Yaki. Yaki's going to show us the LiveU Solo interface and how to enter this connection code so you can send that live stream into this channel. So Yaki, I'm going to go ahead and switch it over to you again, and then you can show us your screen and show us how to enter this connection code on your end as well.
Great, thanks, Ryan. So what you see here is basically the Solo portal, which, as I mentioned, is available also on mobile phones. The great thing here is about the simplicity. What you see here is already a unit that is registered. First step which I will do is, after I open the box, have my new encoder on, plug the modems on the USB sides, configure Wi-Fi and things like this, which is very friendly on the screen GUI. And right after that, I will add it with the serial number to the portal in order to be managed from there. And from that moment, I can start managing this unit from the portal, from my mobile phone. The control is very simple, starting stop and start once you have set the streaming destination. What we'll show now is how to set the streaming destination, which is the second step. So I'll click on Edit here. As you can see, there are various outputs options which will increase along time. And we've started with the Wowza solution. As we said, it is one of the best integrated ones to carry on the various changes in bitrate from the uplink, and it really deals very well with that. And with the Wowza Streaming Cloud, we did a very good and simple integration using the token that Ryan just generated. So what I will do here is just add this token, submit it, and from that moment on, I will not do it now because the stream is already set. From that moment, I should be able to control my unit and press the play button to have the video on. And this is actually the 3 steps. So the last step will be just to press play. From that moment, it will open up the Wowza streaming engine automatically, so you don't have to worry about going again and opening the Wowza portal in parallel in order to start this stream. So this play button over here will actually open automatically the Wowza stream and just start streaming. So if you wish, you can still able to see the bitrate aggregated on the input of the Wowza cloud. On the unit itself, you can see also the bitrate counting on and increasing as the unit builds it up. I think, Ryan, we go back to you to show the input stream, that indication that the stream is alive.
Absolutely. So I'm going to come back in here, and what I'm going to do is actually pull up my monitor. And my monitor inside of Wowza Streaming Cloud allows me to see any live channels that are currently up. So you can see I have like a network IP camera at our offices in Golden, Colorado. And then here's that LiveU channel that we set up earlier. Now this monitor is great because it gives me a snapshot every few seconds to let me know the stream's reliable. And if I click on statistics here I can see what the inbound bitrate is, what the configured outbound bitrate is, and the actual outbound bitrate going out of those adaptive streams. If I switch over now, I can actually open this particular LiveU channel and look at some of the more detailed settings. So you can see here's that snapshot of the video that's coming in. It tells me the bitrate of the resolutions at 1280 by 720. Here's all that source connection information that was actually entered automatically when I typed in that connection code. In addition to that, we generate some JavaScript and a div tag for you to actually embed this in your own HTML site. And if you even have your own player, you can grab the direct playback URLs. We use Akamai on Wowza Streaming Cloud as our CDN delivery. So you can actually grab these direct playback URLs and deliver these to put them in your own player. So if you use JW Player or Flow Player or BitDash or any of these players that are out there that you already have configured, you can use these direct playback URLs and embed them in your own. However, if you have you don't have a player and you want to use one, we provide you with that hosted code. But in addition, we actually provide a hosted page as well. So if I come over here to the hosted page, I can open this and I can actually play this back inside of my browser. And what I'm going to do is actually share the hosted page with you guys in the chat window. So I've just typed that into the chat window, and there's Yaki. And you can see he's live streaming there from the LiveU offices in Israel. And when I actually, let me zoom in a little bit here. Now, when I actually zoom in on this stream, I can see here that the quality settings, I have various quality settings that Wowza Streaming Cloud is generating for me. So we're taking in that one 1280 by 720 stream from the LiveU Solo and the LiveU Cloud, and we're able to then adaptively create all these different transcoded outputs to deliver that adaptive bitrate. So let's say I'm on a poor bandwidth connection. This may drop to a quality setting of 1 that will adapt and give me a little bit of a pixelated output, but it will still play back without any buffering issues, which is really the key of adaptive bitrate streaming. If I select auto, then of course the player itself will automatically decide which settings. You can see there it's dropped, and now in a couple of seconds here it's going to adjust. Now, one big thing that came up, Yaki and I talked about this ahead of the webinar, is outside of the upload bandwidth, which LiveU Solo is able to, and the LiveU products are able to kind of solve the problem of upload bandwidth and reliable bandwidth. The second kind of issue, another big issue that comes up, is the issue of latency. And with latency, there are various things in the workflow that can insert latency into a live stream. Primarily, one of them is what protocol you choose. And as if you guys know anything about live streaming, there are some traditional streaming protocols like Adobe RTMP, like RTSP. There are different protocols that are naturally low latency protocols that you can deliver 1 to 2 seconds of latency. However, with Wowza Streaming Cloud, we use primarily the HTTP protocols like Apple HLS and Adobe HDS, and we deliver those over the Akamai network. So all of those different steps from the upload side, the LiveU to the LiveU Cloud, and then the LiveU Cloud to Wowza Streaming Cloud, we're talking about very little latency there. Really, the latency that you see is the delivery over a CDN. Part of that is because of the HTTP protocol that has a built-in latency inside of it. In addition to that, it takes a while for those different streams to propagate across the Akamai network. So you can see a range of anywhere from 20 seconds all the way up to a minute of latency in a particular stream over that protocol. Now, there are ways to reduce that. Primarily, you can use the RTMP protocol. You can come into the advanced menu and pull in the RTMP stream and be able to deliver that inside of your player. The limitation there is that you have to do that inside of a flash player with that RTMP protocol, and that limits the amount of devices you can reach. So that's primarily why we make the Apple HLS protocol available, because it's the most widely used and widely supported protocol for delivery to different devices. So I wanted to address the latency issue and kind of explain that, and hopefully that will bring a little bit of visibility into it. So one thing I want to show as well is you can see I pull up the hosted page. Here I can see the amount of total unique viewers on Wowza Streaming Cloud. Now, the thing to keep in mind here is this is the amount of people who are viewing the embedded player itself. We have some JavaScript code that will report back to Wowza Streaming Cloud and let you know how many viewers. However, if you use the actual playback URL and you use that inside of your own player to actually pull up some more detailed information, you can come into the advanced mode and or in fact, let me look up. We have an actual stream here, which I wanted to show, which shows some of the actual information that we can grab from a live stream. So if I come in here, and the reason I want to show this is because we have a lot of people ask us specifically about how to pull up information inside of after an event and be able to pull in some real stats of how many people viewed that stream. Well, what we're able to do, we worked with Akamai to actually aggregate some of the information and some of the stats that happened during a live event. So in this particular event, if I come into viewer data, here I can see the breakdown of data that I'm able to get from Akamai on how many people viewed this live stream. So separate from the player, this is actually Akamai data of how and more accurately what you get billed for on the usage side over the Akamai CDN and using Wowza Streaming Cloud. So here I can see the total amount of unique viewers, which protocol was used, the total amount of viewing time per country, who actually viewed this in each country, the percent of viewers, the breakdown here. It also tells me on a protocol basis the breakdown of different renditions. So this lets me know, people in this country, viewed the lower rendition because of potential bandwidth issues. In this country, they viewed it, the higher end rendition. This is the 2.7 megabit per second stream, and so on and so forth. Now, this isn't real-time data. It does take us a couple of hours to aggregate this data from Akamai, but I did want to point out that you can pull this up on your account and be able to pull in that data and know what you're getting billed for, and also, more importantly, be able to report back to your customer or to your boss on how many people viewed this live stream, when, where, and which renditions as well. There are also other features in the advanced section that Yaki had mentioned, being able to deliver to different streaming platforms. What we can do in here is we can actually configure some stream targets to pull into Wowza Streaming Cloud and deliver there, but then also push an additional stream out to YouTube Live or to Ustream or to other services. So you only need to stream to one service like Wowza Streaming Cloud, and then we can redistribute that across the internet to various services and various entities. So this is a great way of not having to stream multiple times from your encoder. You can stream once and then redistribute that to other networks to be able to get your live stream out there. So there are a lot of different settings to do that. We also have the ability to do weekly and daily scheduling. If you have a weekly schedule of when that's going to happen, you can do that as well. So really a lot of different use cases here for actually being able to deliver your live stream. So Yaki, with that, I think we're going to open things up to a few questions. Do you have anything to add before we jump into some Q&A?
Just to show the flavors that are coming in, another slide there.
Okay, perfect. Let me switch it back over to you, and you can show a couple more slides. We do have a few questions talking about the LU200 as well, so it's something that we have one that's connected through our LiveU Cloud that we can show after that as well. So let me switch it over to you.
Thanks, Ryan. as we mentioned, the three steps are really making it easier for in the workflow and setting the stream up. Hope you could see next to me the encoder itself, right next to the computer. When Ryan was showing the preview, you could have seen the LiveU Solo right next to me. But the LiveU Solo is actually going to be available starting January next year. It's really coming in two basic flavors at this stage. One that is only doing the reliable stream, and this will come in a lower price point. And another flavor which is with the full reliability of with the bonding technology for 4 uplink channels, 2 USBs of modems, and Wi-Fi and LAN. So these are the two flavors, the Solo and the Solo Plus. We're really excited to get to January and show that.
And Yaki, we have a couple of questions relating to how does the LiveU Solo compare to the LU200, which is one of your more popular units?
Yeah, that's a very good question. The LiveU Solo is really more about the workflow. It's about setting the stream up independently. It's the product itself and the flow and the portal managing the product is all set for the online streaming world and less for the broadcast world. There are a few more differences. The LU200 has internal modems inside. Its management platform is completely different. It's carrying on previews and different kind of modes of operations that are special for the broadcast world. But essentially, it's still based on the same technology. The bonding is the same bonding. The reliability is the same reliability. So it's more about the user workflow and simplicity rather than the changes in the box itself.
Perfect. And then I have a question here from Antti, and I could probably answer this one. Antti is asking, are you going to implement similar LiveU integration with Wowza Streaming Engine, not Cloud? And I think there are plans eventually to integrate this with Wowza Streaming Engine as well. The reason there's a difference there is, Wowza Streaming Cloud, as Yaki has mentioned, is actually built on top of our Wowza Streaming Engine server software. But what we've done is we've created kind of this tokenization where we create a token, and you can insert that into LiveU. That part of the technology we haven't implemented back into our streaming server product. We've only kind of built that into Wowza Streaming Cloud. So I think there are plans potentially to add the LiveU integration into Engine as well, so you guys can get this workflow with your own license of Wowza Streaming Engine as well. Now, this is actually a great question from Gerbrand. Yaki, this question is, does the LiveU Solo have some kind of least cost routing so that it prefers one connection over another? So let's say you have a reliable Ethernet connection, but you have your 4G as a backup. Are you able to set that priority inside of the LiveU Solo?
That's a really great question. I'll just emphasize a little bit more the question itself, because it's not only that the cellular itself is more expensive, but sometimes it's the opposite, is when your line connection actually connects to a satellite modem, and this is really, really expensive. So right. You would want to differentiate that. Unfortunately, it will not come in this first release of the Solo. We definitely have it in the plans for later on along the year. Those of you who know us from the broadcast market, we'll have this in our coming version 5.5 around April next year. So it will be there. We call it least cost bonding, because routing is like for one route, we are doing actually bonding. And it's exactly as you said, Ryan. It's going to have priority over one type of interface over the other. Let's say you prefer the LAN connection over the cellular connections, and then it will try to fill in the traffic, the highest bit rate through this uplink channel. And if this is lacking for any reason, you can define also the maximum bit rate, and it will compensate the remaining bit rate from the lower priority interface. So to sum up, we'll have it in the broadcast solution around April, and we'll certainly take it along the year if this is a requirement
Absolutely. Now, the question regarding the LU200, I just wanted to show real quick what the interface for that looks like. We have a device that's connected in our office in Golden, Colorado, and this integration that we built in for the LiveU Solo does also work for the LiveU 200. The only difference is there is, like Yaki mentioned, there's a different interface for the LiveU 200. So there's LiveU Central here. Here I can pull up my list of devices. Here I can see what my connections are over here on the right on that particular device itself. So you can see the interface is a little bit different, but the integration does work great. And what I've done in here is I've actually come in and managed this device, and I've created that connection to Wowza Streaming Cloud in here. So very easily been able to attach it. I can take control. I can actually choose what channel I want to stream this to, click on Start Streaming, and then be able to stream that out. So similar to the workflow, the LiveU Solo workflow, Yaki, is definitely much simplified. It's so easy with the new portal. It's very elegant and very easy to get up and running. And we do also have a support article, and I'll post this in the chat window, that references how to connect the LiveU Solo encoder. So a very similar workflow to what we just showed. Be able to connect that through Wowza Streaming Cloud and get up and running in live streaming with that workflow.
Right,
So
Ryan. Additional difference is that normally with LiveU broadcast solution, you would need a server on the other end to do the bonding and to have an SDI output. And this kind of solution, obviously the stream goes from cloud to cloud. So we have our server actually integrated in our cloud portal. And in this case, it's seamless for the user. So you don't have to buy a server yourself or keep one physical one. This cloud service will do it for you. It's really seamless for the user. But there is actually a bonding server in the cloud responsible for this reliable streaming protocol that I've mentioned, and reliable for doing the bonding in order to get one stream output to the Wowza cloud. So this is another main difference here.
Yep. Now, one thing I'll point out is, we had a question here about being able to connect the LiveU to Wowza Streaming Engine. I don't see a reason why you couldn't just use the RTMP information for that Wowza Streaming Engine server. If we're getting a reliable connection from LiveU, you could input that information manually inside of the portal and then be able to stream to Wowza Streaming Engine from that encoder. I think the only difference there is we don't have the nice kind of button and the very simple token integration. But to answer your question, Gerbrand, you could actually use, actually the question was from Antti. Antti, you could actually use LiveU simply. You just have to enter the RTMP information manually from Wowza Streaming Engine and connect that to LiveU. So that level of integration, hopefully, we will build in to Wowza Streaming Engine here in the near future. So if you guys have any additional questions, feel free to submit that. We have about 10-15 minutes left to answer any questions you may have. If I don't see any further questions coming in, we'll go ahead and close the session down here in just a couple of minutes. But I just want to take this opportunity, Yaki, to really thank you for joining us today, for helping and walking through the LiveU Solo interface. More specifically, talking about when the product will be available in both the United States market, in Europe. I think we have people from Asia that are on the line too. The release date, is it January 1st, 2016 across the globe, or is it only certain markets?
Yeah, it's first our preliminary market will be the US market, but definitely right after it will be the rest of the world. It's more closer to February, beginning of February. And anyone who is interested, just feel free to contact us directly so we can really promote it quicker and have it ready in your country, and if you're a distributor or a production house, so we can obviously punctually address early birds.
Absolutely, and what I'll do is I'm going to pull up the LiveU Solo site. I'm going to share that link with everybody who's on the line. So I'll type that into the chat window here, and I should probably add the HTTP on it. There you go. You can pull that up. You can inquire about the Solo right here and type in your information and be able to submit that. Now, we have an additional question here that I think is very interesting, and I can take the first part of this question, and then I want to get kind of your input on this as well, Yaki. But the question is, how does someone overcome the last mile access from the field to the cloud where the network may have limitations? And what I'll do first is actually address it from the Wowza Streaming Cloud side. So, Wowza Streaming Cloud, our CDN, is built on Akamai, but we're not only using Akamai for the delivery side of things, we're also using Akamai to get a reliable upload connection into the cloud. So one thing that we are able to generate with some of our encoder partners is we actually can create a ingest point, an entry point on the Akamai network. This actually came up on a customer call recently where we had a customer in Thailand who was having trouble getting a reliable upload from their local ISP or their local place where they were streaming. So what Akamai has done is they've actually created they lease different entry points through different ISPs in different countries. Instead of them having their own data centers everywhere around the world, which is very expensive, they will lease space in different countries. So what that allows you to do is get into the Akamai network very, very quickly from wherever you're streaming from. So let's say you are streaming in Thailand. Using this Akamai entry point, let's say in Bangkok, it will go straight in there and then be on the Akamai network, which will create a more reliable stream. And that way it will get into the LiveU cloud, it will get into the Wowza streaming cloud very reliably. So when you think of the CDN, don't think of the CDN just at the delivery side for the last mile. Think of it also for the upload bandwidth side. Not only can you aggregate different internet and bandwidth connections with the LiveU Solo and the LiveU devices, you can also then stream that across a very reliable entry point through the world's leading CDN Akamai. So I think on your end, I mean, Yaki, your guys' focus is very much a reliable connection. The bonding technology itself, there are just, what are the different ways? You can do it over Ethernet, you can do it over Wi-Fi, over cellular data, and be able to aggregate. What's the total amount of different cellular data connections that you can bond?
Really on the LiveU Solo, these are actually 4 channels. We plan to have few more in the future, but currently it's the 2 modems, 2 cellular modems, 1 Wi-Fi connection and 1 LAN connection. So it's a total of 4 channels on the uplink side. But as I mentioned earlier, we have the LRT, which is the LiveU Reliable Transport Protocol. This is where we ensure the adaptive bitrate into the cloud server. And even in places where there is no insufficient internet connectivity on the uplink side, you can always adapt the video and then get it from a very minimum of 300, 400 kilobits per second, and adapt very quickly.
Perfect. And then I think at the last mile to address that, on the delivery side is with what we do with Wowza Streaming Cloud is we've tried to build what we think is kind of the optimal workflow for being able to scale a live stream. Because we set up one origin server to do the transcoding, we then deliver all those transcoded streams into a CDN. Now, one thing to point out is Wowza Streaming Cloud is very modular too, that we've used, you can pick and choose which parts of that workflow or that infrastructure you want to use. If you already have your own CDN, you can very easily replace the Akamai CDN that comes with Wowza Streaming Cloud with your own CDN account and be able to push those transcoded streams out. In addition to that, you can also use your own Wowza Streaming Engine license, transcode on your local server, and then just use Wowza Streaming Cloud for CDN delivery. So that kind of modular approach is really one of the benefits of this live streaming service. But to kind of address the question of the last mile, is part of the reason we create those adaptive bitrate streams. We deliver those to Akamai. Akamai then takes care of delivering those across their edge locations all around the world. So really, even if someone's trying to...
It's going to take a while for that to get hot. It takes a long time to get hot.
Yeah, so I think that's really one of the keys of doing that and getting that out. But yeah, I think that addresses the questions. We have a couple of questions here about the recording and about the PowerPoints. We have been recording this session and we'll make that available, and we'll also be sure to include the PowerPoint files in there as well for you guys to reference. But with that, Yaki, I want to thank you again for joining us today and being available to do this presentation.
Thank you, Ryan. We've been excited as well.
Perfect, and thanks to all of you for attending, and we hope to see you in a future webinar as well. So take care, and we'll see you soon. Thanks, guys.